The economy functions primarily on confidence. People borrow and lend money based on their trust in one another and in the government's leadership, including the Prime Minister and the Chancellor of the Exchequer. Unfortunately, the current state of affairs exudes a sense of pessimism. It's as if the nation is watching two individuals who perpetually appear as though they're attending a family funeral. Their demeanor reflects a grim outlook, fostering an air of what can only be described as miserablism. Even speeches from the Prime Minister lack inspiration and fail to instill hope. Instead of a vision akin to Tony Blair's famous optimism, things can only get better. The current message seems to be the polar opposite. Things can only get worse. Yes, there may be reasons for this bleak tone. It's understandable that inheriting a challenging situation, such as discovering an alleged £22 billion black hole in the finances, could weigh heavily on anyone. However, framing this as the root of all economic troubles oversimplifies the situation. Frankly, the idea of a £22 billion black hole pales in comparison to the actual challenges we face. The national debt currently stands at a staggering £2.7 trillion, having ballooned significantly over the last 14 years. During this period, it has more than doubled, and there's little to suggest that it won't continue its upward trajectory. This colossal figure is the true elephant in the room, dwarfing any narrative about a £22 billion gap. To focus solely on that number is to miss the gravity of the economic situation entirely. The bigger issue is the lack of growth in the economy. For years, we've been stuck in a cycle of stagnation, with no clear path forward. Confidence is the lifeblood of any thriving economy, but when the leadership projects an image of doom and gloom, it becomes nearly impossible for people to believe in a brighter future. Consumers tighten their belts, businesses hesitate to invest, and the overall cycle of economic activity slows down. Confidence isn't just an abstract concept, it directly impacts spending, borrowing, and investment. Without it, we are left in a perilous state of inertia. Adding to this, the leadership's narrative often seems disconnected from the realities faced by everyday people. The constant focus on short-term fixes and buzzwords does little to address the structural issues that have plagued the economy for years. Inflation remains high, eroding the purchasing power of families across the country. Wages, for the most part, have failed to keep up, leaving many struggling to make ends meet. At the same time, essential public services are stretched thin, with funding cuts and increased demand creating a crisis in sectors like healthcare and education. These are the real issues people face daily, yet they are often overshadowed by political posturing and rhetoric. Moreover, the burden of debt isn't just a government problem. Household debt has also surged, with many relying on credit to cover basic expenses. This is not sustainable. When individuals and families are living on the edge, any minor financial shock can push them into crisis. The government's failure to address this growing vulnerability is another example of how out of touch it has become. Instead of offering meaningful solutions, the focus often shifts to blame shifting or downplaying the extent of the problem. This lack of accountability only exacerbates the public's lack of trust. The need for a comprehensive economic strategy has never been more urgent. A strategy that not only tackles the immediate challenges but also lays the groundwork for long-term growth and stability. This requires bold leadership, not the defeatist attitudes currently on display. It means investing in infrastructure, fostering innovation, and creating an environment where businesses can thrive. It also means addressing income inequality and ensuring that economic growth benefits everyone, not just a select few. Without these measures, we risk falling further into a cycle of stagnation and decline. Leadership is about inspiring confidence, even in difficult times. It's about providing a vision for the future that people can believe in. Right now, what we see is a government that appears resigned to its fate, projecting a narrative of despair instead of hope. The challenges are indeed immense, but history has shown that with the right approach, even the most daunting obstacles can be overcome. What the country needs is not just policies, but a renewed sense of purpose and optimism. Only then can we begin to rebuild the confidence that is so essential to our economic and social well-being.